Good day and greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Macfin Insurance Forum. Today, I'm talking to Lawrence from Nairobi. He's got a lot of experience in insurance, but also with the twists in IT. Probably, Lawrence, you give yourself a more appropriate resume.
Thank you, Simba, for having me on this platform. My name is Lawrence Kenduiywa. I'm an insurance expert based in Nairobi, Kenya. I have over 10 years of experience in insurance, cutting across both medical, stroke health, and agriculture fields. So prior to joining the agriculture space, I used to work for a medical insurance firm. I transitioned to the agriculture space, which is pretty exciting and very inspiring. My first employer in the agri space was Eka Africa, which is a product developer for agriculture insurance products. So at Eka, I was able to do a couple of things with the team there, a couple of nice innovations that I should be able to speak about. Then after I left Eka, I joined Agritask, who's my current employer. So Agritask is basically an ag tech company that supports various stakeholders within the agriculture space with technological solutions. We offer end-to-end agronomic geo-management platform that integrates any ag data, hardware, software that can benefit both all players within the agriculture.
Yeah, that's a very rich experience, Lawrence. And we've had various discussions between Agritask and Macfin regarding technology in the agricultural space. And we've engaged a number of clients also together on that. And I believe Agritask has got an amazing solution in the agriculture space. Now, while we're on that, I just want you to take us through the process of product design, which is what you do. What are some of the key drivers of new product design for you to sit down and say, okay, we want to design a product? And can you just take us through some of the key drivers?
Okay, thank you, Simba, for that. I think interesting. So some of the drivers for design of insurance products, they're actually limitless. And they can actually vary from one field to another, but I'll try to be a bit general. Yeah. So I think in the 21st century, we are seeing some bits or increased literacy levels. We are seeing new market realities related to demand for insurance. So most players, everybody sort of understands or has a clue or has ever had something related to insurance. Even our old grannies at home currently know something about insurance. Yeah. So the literacy levels is actually one of the drivers for new product designs, because with increased literacy, then there's increased demand for insurance, and therefore the players in this particular segment have to really come out and push for new and innovative solutions. So that's one of the drivers. Another one would be enhanced profitability. Most players within the agriculture space, within all insurance spaces, are struggling to make a cut out of the insurance business. So what do? They continuously innovate, come up with new solutions that do not really require, for example, human intervention. An example of this would be parametric insurance, where you use satellite data sets to actually design insurance products, and you don't have to go to the field to collect any kinds of data. So that would be the second driver for new product design in insurance. Another one would be the impact element from both government and non-government organizations. So there's so much funding coming in from various players in the world to support product development, improve livelihoods, reduce malnutrition. So these are some of the initiatives that also drive the design of new products in the market. Then there's the final aspect, which is digital inclusion and financial inclusion. So with penetration of digital tools within countries, within communities, then it's easier. It creates new markets for insurance products. Finance also has pushed adoption of insurance, because you'd find nowadays any financial instrument extended to an individual has to be accompanied by insurance. So insurance companies have to be really creative and come up with products that can support this particular segment or market.
Very interesting. I suppose you could write a whole book about product design and so forth. And one aspect I would like to look at is the issue about competition. I know in insurance we're really bad on price competition. Do you find that product design and differentiation on product can be a competitive advantage? Are we playing in that field as the insurance market in Africa?
Yes. I think you raise a very important aspect, Simba, because for competition is also one of the very, very big key drivers for product design. Just looking at the segment that I have been working in, designing insurance solutions for farmers, you'd find that there's so much competition when it came to product offering. So we had to continuously innovate in order for us to stay relevant. So I totally agree that competition is actually one of the biggest drivers for pushing new product design in insurance.
Yeah. And coming to where you are sitting now, Nairobi, Kenya, I would say in Africa, Kenya is one of the leading markets for innovation in terms of insurance product design, in terms of insurance systems, IT systems and so forth. Yeah. What could be behind that? What are you drinking in Kenya?
Interesting, Simba. What are we drinking? I think we're drinking a lot of tea.
Yeah.
So I think Kenya, I'd say there's so much support from the government and the regulatory environment when it comes to adoption of so many things within the market. Case example, even ag insurance products. I understand there are countries in Africa where you can't really distribute some of the solutions like parametric insurance. Yeah. But you'd find the regulatory environment in Kenya is quite favorable. Be able to innovate, be able to test new solutions in the market. For example, our insurance regulatory authority has something called a sandbox, where it's basically an incubation platform, where if you have new ideas you'd like to test or run it in the market, then you can basically just subscribe to the sandbox and you're given the necessary support to test your solution. Then once it's successful, you can then scale it up or launch it into the open market. So I think that's one of the things. Then also I think the space also, I think most institutions, I think Nairobi tends to be the central hub when it comes to attracting so many kinds of investments. I think that's also related to the government. So I think with investments comes innovations, comes all this kind of support that actually boosts some of the solutions.
So funding is critical in enabling regulatory environment, if I get that from you.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. Now, maybe if you can just take us through the product development process. Once you have decided that you want to develop a new product, what processes do you go through? What are the inputs that you get into the product development process?
I think maybe even before we go to the product design, I think there's the considerations when you want to design a product. Some of the considerations you need to take before you actually even design an insurance product.
Yes.
So I think I'll maybe mention a few quickly. One is actually target market. You have to look at which particular clients are you targeting. In the agri sector, it could be smallholder farmers, could be commercial farmers. All these players would require different types of solutions, right? Then for example, in the medical side, it would be, are you looking at middle income or low income bracket employees or people? And that could actually guide how you actually design your product. The second thing would be around consumer needs. So what does the client want? What do they really need to be insured against? What's their pain point? I think this is one of the things that needs to be taken into consideration before even you start with the product design. Number three would be data availability. You have to check and see whether you have enough data to support any kind of product structuring that you're going to do. That's also very essential. Then number four would be affordability. The product that you're going to design, is it going to be affordable? Will it make economical sense? And then finally, the product features. What are the benefits you're going to give? What are the exclusions? What are the claims protocols? All these actually have to be taken into consideration.
So before you go to the process, you spoke about the product features.
Yes.
Maybe just a glimpse into what product development means in the insurance sector. Can I pull a wording, change one clause, and say I've got a product, a new product? Can I, change one paragraph and say I've got a product? What do you call a product design in insurance?
I think there's product improvement and product design, and I think some of the most often people tend to actually confuse these two, because there's the element where you have an existing product in the market where maybe you had a couple of exclusions and you needed to enhance the product maybe based on a couple of things that happened in the market, and I'll give you an example for this. Then you maybe include the exclusion. That doesn't change the product, so the product remains the same. In Kenya, for example, we had a fall armyworm infestation a couple of years back, like 2 years ago, and fall armyworm was actually among the exclusions within the insurance contracts. So when farmers complained, farmers decried, product design companies actually decried this. Some companies decided to adopt or insure the fall armyworm. So that didn't change the product that was already in existence. So if it's a multi-peril crop insurance product and you start insuring fall armyworm, that doesn't change the product. It's still a multi-peril crop insurance product. The main or the determining factor when it comes to product design is actually the data sets. What proxy are you using? So, for example, in the crop insurance space, we currently have a list of products, and the distinguishing factor between most of these products would be the data sets that are used to monitor, or the protocols that are used to monitor these particular products. So weather index or precipitation index insurance would be one product. Some of the innovations I left at ECA Africa would be the soil moisture index. So as you can see, the proxy has changed from precipitation to soil moisture. There's also the picture-based insurance product, which is basically bringing in the picture component into a product to enhance the monitoring aspect. So product design can be also a tweak, because you'd find maybe the base structure of the design of most of these products would be similar, because it's based on phenological aspects related to cropping. But now, what data sets are you using when it comes to product design? What are your claims monitoring protocols? And how at the end of the day does the premiums differ? How's generally the structure of the product differs from one product to another? So that essentially now defines product design for new products.
Yes, I see you were going deep there, and I think we need to have more of these conversations with our clients so that
Yes.
there is differentiation in the market.
Yeah.
Now take us back to the product design process.
To the product design. Thank you. I think I mentioned the first step. So before even going to the conceptual stage, or what we call the conceptual stage, is when you look at the need analysis, which is basically what we've talked about, what's the target market and all those. So the second step would be now feasibility study. Yeah. So for any product design, you need to do some sort of feasibility study, which is basically research and data collection, going to the ground, collecting any data that you might need in terms of to aid or to support the product design. Could be you need to interact with farmers, see what cropping models they have, because you can't design a crop insurance product for farmers without necessarily going and checking their practices, because that at the end of the day would influence what kind of product you actually offer. So feasibility study is really, really essential, because you collect all the data you'd require when it comes to product design. At the point of feasibility study, you should be able to know whether your initiative is actually good to go. Whether you could proceed and design the product, or whether you need to just kill the idea. Maybe it's a product that's already in existence in the market. Yeah. So feasibility is really, really essential. Number 3 would be now, after you're done with the feasibility, it would be insurance partnerships and regulatory framework. For example, if it's a product design companies, who are the insurance partners that you want to work with for this particular product? Who are the reinsurance companies? Are the reinsurance companies on board in terms of the initiative that you want to take for designing a product? You could also look at the regulatory framework. What regulatory framework is there? Is there a sandbox, for example, like here in Kenya, that could support your initiatives to design a product? So that all now is lumped up as the insurance and partnerships. It's partnerships and regulatory framework that you need to take into consideration. Then number 4 would be now product design, pricing phase. So you've gathered all the data. You have the cropping data, for example, or you have the medical claims data, sickness data, all those from hospitals, or any kind of data that you have to design a product. Then you now get on to pricing. So pricing would be now coming up. So there's so many other analyses that would be involved in the product design. So for product design, you'd look at severity, you'd look at frequency. What's the frequency of some of the losses that you're looking at, or claims that you're looking at? What's the severity? What's the extent of the damage? So those are some of the things. Trend analysis, for example, how many years of data do you have? For parametric insurance products, you work with 30 years of data. Are you seeing any kind of trend from these 30 years? Are there instances of increased droughts? So these are some of the things you really need to look at, so that you're able to factor that into your model. Sensitivity analysis, change a couple of parameters, see how that affects your model. And finally, come up with a rate or a product that now speaks to the idea that you're looking at. That is all compounded as product design and pricing phase, including rating.
Yeah.
After you're done with that, I know, Simba, you have questions, but there's the product pilot and client sensitization. You need to do a small pilot, check whether what's the reception of this product in the market, do some monitoring and evaluation, see how's the product performing. Then finally, once you have something solid, you can do a full product launch.
Yeah, so my question actually was supposed to be on the product pilot, and I was going to ask you that, you see, it's not possible for you to have a product design without a risk carrier and insurance. And do you find that there is a high level of uptake of new ideas, new product ideas at the risk carrier level, because that's where everything happens?
I think the partnerships and regulatory framework, because before even you get to the product design, you have to really engage the insurers and the reinsurance companies, because these at the end of the day they'll be the ones bearing the risk.
Yeah.
So I think it's crucial to have them involved at the onset before even you get to product design, because what you find most of the time is at the product design phase, you guys would be interacting, so you'd be exchanging notes, you'd be constantly updating the insurance companies, the reinsurance companies on the steps, on what you're seeing, what you're coming up with. So it's really crucial to have that discussions before even the product pilot. So at the point of pilot, they'll actually be on board, and they'll be willing to actually insure even at pilot stage. Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, big input into the whole process is data. And every conversation that we have in the African markets is always about data, unavailability of data, or, the data is not very clear or is not very precise. How do you bridge that, and do you find that to be a problem?
Yeah. So thank you for that question, Simba. Regarding data, I think data is really crucial when it comes to product design. Credible data. Without good data, you can't design a really consumer-centric product, or a product that would work for both. At the end of the day, it has to work for both the clients and also on the business side for the insurance companies. So to avoid issues related to basis risk. So one of the biggest challenges we're having in the agriculture space, for example, would be data, yield data to be specific. So there's no consistent way of collecting yield data. This data is not really aggregated. So when it comes to product design, you'd find you're working with data that's not really consistent in terms of how it's collected, in terms of even what do we call it, in terms of collecting it consecutively. So what some of the new solutions that we have, or what's coming in to complement some of these challenges we're seeing when it comes to yield data, is actually satellite data. Because satellite data, you're now able to get really good historical data on a timely basis, collected on a defined way. So that consistency helps when it comes to actually designing crop insurance products. The other factor that makes it really hard to design yield-based products is the fact that it's very expensive to collect yield data. For crop insurance products that are tied to yield, you have to do crop cuts. Crop cuts is actually going to the field, doing actual harvesting to inform any claims that are going to be paid at the end of the season. So that particular exercise can be very, very expensive. So, but looking at now, how satellite data is coming in to solve some of these challenges is that with satellite data, so there are different types of satellite data sets that can be used when it comes to crop insurance. We have the precipitation that could be used to design precipitation index insurance. We have soil moisture that could be used to design soil moisture index insurance products. And we also have the vegetation data sets that could be used to design vegetation-based indices. So we are continuing. So one of the things that we as technological companies are doing, or ag tech players in the market are doing, is we're continually doing research around how do we correlate the data we're getting from the satellite to the actual events or occurrence on the ground, or the yield that we're getting from the ground. So I think it's just a matter of fine-tuning. I think with time, it will get to a point where the satellite data providers can actually estimate yield without necessarily having to do crop cuts.
Yeah. So just want to touch briefly on pricing. I know it's a minefield, but I'm just trying to get to you that once you've designed your product, that's like a masterpiece. How flexible are you to see the market playing around with your model changing the price, sometimes undercutting, and so forth.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Simba. I think for crop insurance, yes, there's bits of undercutting that is normally experienced from one party to another, or one broker to another. But I think what we are pushing for is what we call a systematic way of price adjusting, where we have specific cost controls that you could put in place to adjust for price.
Yeah.
So one of it could be deductibles. So I know you understand the franchise and the ordinary deductibles, where, for example, if a farmer finds a product a bit expensive, they could slightly increase the franchise in order for the pricing to come down. So that's one of the angles we're taking. The other one would be adjustment of the investment value. So that's the other approach you could take in terms of just making sure that the product is affordable for farmers. Rather than undercutting, how about you adjust the investment so that you're able to at least cover part of the risk and still ensure that the farmer is actually covered.
So Lawrence, once you've designed your product, what's the test of success? How do you determine that this product is successful?
So also different products could be analyzed differently when it comes to measuring its success. So I think, but for most products, it would be definitely the client retention rate. So what's the retention rate of your clients? Are they renewing? Are you seeing clients leaving your portfolio? So that's one of the, I think, instant measures of success when it comes to insurance products. The other one would be performance of the product. What's the loss ratio? Because remember, a successful product has to be, I keep on insisting that it has to work for the client and also work for the insurance entity. So what's the loss ratio? Is it within the acceptable margins? Is there anything that needs to be adjusted when it comes to the product to make it more friendly? So that's the loss ratio. There's the product revenue growth. So how are you seeing the product growing over time? Are you seeing new clients taking up the product? What's the revenue per client? So these are some of the things you could actually just evaluate to see whether the product is actually doing well. Then lastly, which is common, is actually customer satisfaction surveys, where you reach out to your clients, get to know how they feel about a particular product.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. I think we can only get so much in a day, but I'm sure a lot of us are dying to hear more about product design, about agriculture insurance, and even medical insurance. I can only say here is I think most of our viewers are looking forward to reading a book from you. I don't know whether it's a product design book or it's an agriculture insurance book, but definitely I think you have to work on something. Thank you so much for coming to the program.
Thank you so much, Simba, for having me. Really appreciate it.